going to imprison people, you have to be prepared with everything that goes along with it. And unfortunately, when you imprison women, you imprison children.
Jail's just one big game, one big mind play, and they play it real well. And if you're not strong enough, you don't make it.
Altogether, I wasted 22 years of my life being locked away.
Yeah, definitely.
All of a sudden, I just woke up one morning thinking, you're stuck here. There's no hope. There's no way out. You're stuck here.
I believe the general public has a very false idea of what really goes on behind bars in a prison, and I really do believe that it's about time that we sort of slowly gave them a little bit of an idea of what it is really like behind these bars.
First, it was a shock. So when I first came in, there was this big man there, stands you up against the wall and says, "You're in here for this and this, do you agree?" And I didn't know what was really going on. And then you get strip searched, totally. I didn't like that at all. And someone stand there watching you get undressed and all the things you have to do. And then you come in and you're behind bars suddenly, and there's just like you're suddenly alone, there's no one there. I just felt like there was a big loss, like you had all my freedom, dignity being taken away from me.
Kaini is in solitary confinement. She's segregated from the other prisoners and remains locked up for most of the day. She has chosen to stay in this isolation.
It actually doesn't really worry me. I feel safe in here. I haven't felt safe for a long time. So I guess in that way it's a bonus. I was having a hard time out there mixing with the other girls. I ended up in the infirmary for a week after being bashed up by a couple of them at one stage. Because I was abused by my parents all my life. My father sexually abused me, and so I've never felt safe anywhere. I'm always scared that he's going to come and get me or hurt me.
Of every 100 prisoners in Australian jails, only 5 are women. Most of them are inside for property offences. Very few are convicted for violent crimes. After a violent act, women are more likely to be put in the back of an ambulance than in the back of a paddy wagon.
Before I joined this job, I first walked into a prison. It was a great culture shock for me, and I never ever dreamed that there was people in society perhaps like this, and never believed that half the things that really go on in the state are really happening. A lot of these inmates have come from very, very bad home environments, family environments. Normally you'll find if a child is brought up in a background of being molested or the wife being beaten or something, that the child will think that's a normal environment to grow up in.
Up to 80% of women in prison have been sexually or physically abused as children.
People can't look you in the eyes when they're talking about it. For a long time you can say, I can sit here and say, well, I was sexually abused, and I was, but to sit down and actually tell you, look, it wasn't my fault or something like that is a lot harder. To look somebody in the eyes and say, hey, look, it wasn't my fault, and say it with conviction and mean it from your heart. A lot of women in jail have actually been through the same thing. It's not like mine's any hard luck story. It's just the way things happen. And it just happened to be me that got put in the foster home. It all depends on the person how you react, but I shudder, and it's like there's so much inside and my whole body just shudders. There's so much pain and anger and hurt that you just shudder. You don't know how to let it out. You know, people say punch a pillow or punch something, you feel like grabbing the guy and wringing his neck. You know, how dare you? I was only a little girl. You know, how dare you? I have no right whatsoever. And I'm here sitting in jail doing a jail sentence because I used drugs and I went and broke into people's houses. Fair enough, it's wrong, but what they did to me when I was a kid was wrong. So I used the drugs to kill the pain, but I'm sitting in jail doing a jail sentence, and these guys are walking out scot-free. They're getting 12-month bonds. They're getting 12-month sentences. You know, I'm going to court, I'm looking at 4 years. 4 years for looking after myself, surviving the best way I knew how. They should pat me on the back and say, well done, at least you didn't kill yourself, which was a very high possibility. That could have happened, and I'm not saying I haven't tried, but thank God I'm still here, you know, still here to fight it. And eventually something will be done and these guys will be put away for longer because they're sick, really sick.
Well, it seems to have far-reaching effects on the people who are involved in it. The children who are involved in domestic violence or sexual abuse. This is when it comes out in later years, and that's something that I probably would never have accepted before. I probably would have looked on it a bit cynically and said, oh, it's just another excuse. And I don't think it is anymore. I think it's something that exists in a much bigger percentage of homes than I thought it did, and it obviously has much far-reaching effects than we thought it would have.
There is not a straightforward link between abuse as a child and crime as an adult. But one of the unhealed wounds of child abuse is growing up with low self-esteem. This can lead to destructive behaviour, and with women, it's more likely to be self-destructive.
55-year-old Colin Headley Hunt, who's been going by the alias of Dr. Charles Andrew Farr Jones, didn't get to finish his dinner at a Chinese restaurant in Cross Street last night. Police went there to make an arrest after he was spotted by a policewoman who recognised him from a wanted poster.
I mean, there are people here that shouldn't be here. I believe firmly shouldn't be here. 70–80% of our population would be drug-addicted women. It's not a crime to be a drug addict. There've been the crimes, these women, the victims, there's a lot of victims in here, a real lot of victims. And usually their crime is some thing that what they've suffered has led them to do.
8 out of every 10 women in jail are there for drug-related crimes.
The first time I got in trouble, I was with someone older than me and I was just ripping off a pair of jeans, and I just sort of like done it for the buzz and go in, rip off a pair of jeans for the buzz, but I got busted and went to SARAC, and I had a break for a while, and then I started smoking pot, sniffing aerosol cans, stuff like that. It just progresses from there. You move on and you get further and further into it. I went to Melbourne for a while. Went to Melbourne for a while and got stuck into the drugs over there, amphetamines, and started using. Come back to Adelaide, thought, right, I'll make an effort. And I got a job. I got a really good job, actually. I ended up managing a continental deli and that. And then I got raped. So things just sort of like fell back, and I just, blow it. Stuff this, you know, every time you start making a go of something, someone will violate you in another way, and you just think, wow. So I started using heroin, and once I was into the heroin, that was the end of it. That was the end of it. That was the main drug that suppressed everything. I didn't have to feel anything. I didn't have to worry about yesterday or the day before. All I had to worry about was where I was going to get my next taste. And as long as I was focused on my next taste, I wasn't focused on when I was 6 years old or when I was 10 years old and when other stuff had happened.
I've had a fairly long history with drugs, and it just sort of snowballed, you know. Like, first time I come to jail, I sort of learned about pills and things like that, and then I went out and I started drinking heavily, and then just started getting in with the wrong people and doing the wrong things, and before I knew it, I was doing something major where I could actually, killed someone or anything, I was just gone too far just because of drugs,
About 4/5 of the female population, about 80%, have histories of drug addiction. These women have had to steal, burglarize, whatever, in order to get what is sometimes an enormous sum of money, mind-boggling sum of money, to maintain a heroin or crack addiction, or cocaine. We're talking about, I talked to some women that had to get $2,000 a day because they were not only supporting their own addiction, but they were supporting a man's addiction too.
It was armed robbery with violence. It was a Sunday and I needed cash, and you know, breaks weren't enough because you need cash for dope, you know. I couldn't sell it anywhere, so I held up some people. Yeah, North Point. And I had no intentions, you know. Yeah. You know, didn't want to hurt anyone or anything. You know, it was out of control. It really shocked me, you know, like I was zombied out. I got a job the next day and went on the methadone program, and I haven't touched drugs since then. I've been clean for close on 2 years now.
But when you've lived a life where something is your crutch, like some people it's religion, some people it's alcohol, and mine was heroin. And when something went wrong in my life and I reached a crisis situation, that was where I turned. Okay, now I'm on methadone, I don't use heroin anymore. And to me, that is something that, you know, I 5 years ago could never have even dreamed of. With methadone, for me, it can help me to live a normal life on the outside. Nobody has to know I'm on methadone, and I can function from day to day without having to use drugs. More importantly, not having to commit crime to get the drugs. And that's what lands me in here. Shahinga.
On entering prison, drug users are given some assistance for their physical withdrawals. Methadone, a heroin substitute, is available in some states. But none of the chemical substances given address the deeper psychological reasons for taking drugs in the first place. No Australian jail provides adequate drug rehabilitation, and so the addictions remain. In New South Wales, there is only one drug and alcohol worker for every 230 women.
What's the time, please? 8 o'clock? No, I'll put 8.
Why be guilty of neglecting to worm your cat when Drontal All-Wormer for Cats now comes with a no-fuss pill applicator? It's a crime not to use it.
The female addict in prison, most of them continue their addiction. They continue it through methadone or prescription drugs or by the illicit flow of drugs. And believe me, there is an illicit flow of drugs.
They come in here, they can maintain a habit in here, and they go out and maintain another one out there. So really, all we're doing is creating a cycle. And, you know, it's not really anyone's fault, you know, but it's just happening.
We do have a drug problem here, but we don't have any bigger drug problem in any other jail. It's the same as any other jail. Of course, we have facilities now, so if people have got drugs or are using drugs, they can be urine tested, and which is a new thing, and which means if they are positive, they go into non-contact visits, they lose remission, that sort of thing. It's a very hard thing to combat, though.
They get in a variety of ways. One is through visitors, although in some states, visitors, even babies, are strip searched, nappies taken off, etc., in order to stop the flow of drugs. It doesn't, however. Over the wall is another. I've heard that it actually just gets thrown over at some predetermined place. And the third route of drugs getting in is through the people that work there.
I think one thing that people forget about is the issue that now we have over 1 million people in jail. The drug problem is bigger than ever.
Statistics proven that
you don't stick alcoholics in jail just because they're bloody alcoholics. And drug addiction is no different to alcoholism.
The different states were there. When did you first start to notice that you were different?
I think I've always known I was different because I always felt like no one liked me. And therefore, the abuse was there.
Most women, up to 90%, are unemployed before they go into jail. Inside, they're given traditional female jobs: cooking, cleaning, sewing. Few other options are available. They earn between 50 cents and $60 a week. Most of this goes on shampoo, cigarettes and chocolate. They often leave jail without any money and no more employable than when they entered.
It's not easy to make up big industries, so apart from the sewing room, which is an industry, which is also expanding all the time, there's only the kitchen and the cleaning to do, so a lot of a day is spent doing nothing, which is a problem.
You know, we need the education and everything while we're in here so that we do go out to become productive people of society, you know. And I think society just, you know, they whinge about taxes going on, jails and stuff like that. And you can't blame them really, because there's not much of us coming out there, you know, contributing again to society, because we're just not getting anything. They're not getting their money's worth, nor are we, you know. I don't think this actually teaches you to stop doing crime.
Most women leave with the same limited opportunities in the workforce that they had when they arrived.
November Control, it's November 2-4, we have figures 33 prisoners to dining room, over.
November 2-4, that's loud and clear, roger, control out.
According to the Royal Commission into Black Deaths in Custody, Aboriginal people are imprisoned 10 times more than the rest of the population.
According to the census figures, our population nationally is 2% of the overall population, but in the jails, and some states are higher than others, it runs at between 20 and 25%.
The number of Aborigines in prison has risen 25% since the Royal Commission began in 1987.
Anyway, family concerns or anything like that? All right then?
Thanks,
okay.
Aboriginal people will be incarcerated for things like non-payment of fines, for civil offences basically, not for, you know, murders or very bad crimes. Our imprisonment, the reasons they're being imprisoned are very, very petty.
Police, arseholes, man. I hate them.
Do you think the police give you a harder time up there than here?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Wrong colour.
There's a lot of Aboriginal people in Alice Springs, eh?
Yeah, about 90% of us, you know, more than, I don't know, but there's, you know, there's more Aboriginals than what there is white people in Alice Springs.
And what kind of stuff do the police do?
Bash us up and that if we don't cooperate with them, or if we're drunk, take us to the cells and, you know, wet us down with cold water and shit like that, and take our money and our property and that, make me wild.
They've done that sort of stuff to you?
Yeah.
What happens with Aboriginal people is that we are caught by police, charged. You know, if a jury's selected, there's no Aboriginal people on a jury. The whole system, everybody that's in that courtroom, other than the defendant, would be white people.
The Royal Commission into Black Deaths in Custody took 4 years to investigate 99 deaths. No charges have been laid since, and Aboriginal people continue to die in custody.
The biggest problem in our country today is who's policing the police. What control have we got over what they do to our community? The Royal Commission has just given the police, given everybody, the coronial systems in this country, the judicial systems in this country, they've all just given them a pat on the back and saying, we know that all these things have happened in the past, but we expect you people to be good little boys and girls now and not to do that anymore. And we'll give you all this money so that you can fix up all your jails and everything else that you think you need so that you won't get angry or have to assault an Aboriginal or have to, in the end result, kill an Aboriginal.
be some prison officers who are truly humanists, who are empathetic, who look at the women as individuals to some degree, that truly want to help them and aren't judging them. On the other side, you have a hardened, cynical, very non-humane view of prisoners and of the women.
What? Yeah, I'm coming now.
In my biology package, they sent me in 2 packets of one of glucose and one of starch, and I threw them in my top drawer, not thinking about it. It was just education. And we're all sitting in the dining room, everyone's locked up, and I'm sitting there thinking, right, I'm safe, I've got the dogs in, I'm safe, I haven't got any drugs or anything in my room. The next minute, I had 4 officers walk in and they said to me, Nahuga. And I was so like, what? And they brought me down here and they threw me in the end cell in Dewey. And I was asking what for, what's wrong, and I didn't get no answers. And about 3 hours later, they come and got me and took me up the front. And I walked into the professional visiting room and there was 2 coppers sitting there from the drug squad in the city. And I was just, I started crying and I was laughing at the same time because as I looked at the table, I seen the packages, but the glucose and starch sticker had been peeled off. And I thought, first thing, they've set me up. And then I looked and realised, no, and it's sort of like it's glucose and starch, but the drug squad tested it positive to cocaine.
The difference here is that there are different duties, obviously, for male and females. I don't know that there's a great deal of difference in the types of officers they are. It's just that we have different duties. Obviously, same as men have different duties than women at male prisons. Just men here don't do pat-downs or strip searches and those things, which we do.
Yeah, the women have to be pretty broad-minded in the male prisons.
Oh, yeah, you got to count them on the toilets and everything. Yeah. In the shower. You just go 1 lump of wood, 2 lumps of wood, 3 lumps of wood, you know, you just don't.
Hello? Hello? Yes, they are. Certainly is, yes.
November Control, this is November 33,
Sorry?
radio check over.
They will be locked up in about 15 to 20 minutes. Right.
November Control, this is November 27. This vehicle is clear to exit, over.
No problem.
20 on, come on, make it.
Thank you. Roger 27, control out.
Few women are imprisoned for murder, and most of them have killed after years of sustained physical and emotional violence. But some, like Judy, are serving long sentences for very brutal crimes.
The judge and the prosecutor don't give a damn about people's lives and what they put me through, or what they put your family through. But now the prosecution and the public try to make me out to be a cold-blooded murderer. They put you in prison to rehabilitate you, but it doesn't. All it does is make you bitter towards the people who put you away.
How much longer have you got here?
I've got another 14 years to do before I'm released. At this stage, it's time out from the real world, and it's given me time to think and to grow up and put my life back into perspective. Because I mean, it was way out of perspective when I was out there. I didn't know what I wanted from one day to the next. I'm likely to get up in the morning and say, well, hey, I want to do this, and I'd go and do it. I wouldn't think of the consequences afterwards. It's simple, the crime should never have happened. It should never have happened. To me, no one's got the right to die regardless who they are. They've got no right to die. And it's not a day goes past that I don't think about it. You know, every day I get up and I think I haven't got JK because of this crime. And it just should never have happened. You know? I can understand people being angry with each other, but this was beyond a joke of being angry.
It may have been a horrific crime, not may have been, it was, but often people outside don't believe that people can change. I think that's the big thing often. People are in prison and they don't change. And I think that's a really important thing, to believe that a human being can change. I think Judy is an example of that.
It's only because of one of the girls in here that knew what I'd been through. It actually guided me towards getting some counselling to help me out. I didn't realise how bad it was until I'd come in here, the stuff I'd gone through. Just a simple reaction of someone raising a hand makes me shudder, just on the fact of being struck before.
Oh, look, they park in front of my door.
My door's locked. You can't lock our doors. Sorry, door's locked.
I think it's very hard on mothers. A lot of children get given into the care of foster care, and sometimes the mothers have a very difficult time getting their children back because of their lifestyle. I think it's difficult too because of the difference in, I guess, male and female support, that you often find that males who are put in prison, their wives never hinder in their support. They bring the children up every weekend. But there are not many married women in jail whose husbands do the same thing.
Over half the women in jail are parents. When a mother is locked up, the bond with her children is severely affected.
I'll get to see him every Wednesday for 2 hours. Got a son, he'll be 13 in another couple of weeks. But I hate being away from him, yeah. I'll be glad when I get out and home D, so I can be with him all the time. But no. I committed the crime, so I've got to do the time. Taking part in the sale and supply of heroin. Yeah, won't do that again. It's not worth it. And then about 3 months after, we got busted. I got pregnant with these two. It's 2 years ago we got busted. Only just got sentenced last month. It took a long time to get finished.
Joshua was born in jail and stayed with his mother for the first 6 months of his life.
Being with him was always good, but there were other things, you know, like it was a fight every day, basically. A struggle every day to just do the basic things that you would want to do for your child. Just, you know, to get milk in the morning and just all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Being locked in one room where there's, you know, no fridge or anything, is, you know, it's hard. People might think because he's in jail that his life would be very boring and very dull, but I think his life would be probably more full than a lot of babies on the outside. Mothers can't, you know, for other reasons like working and other children, don't have the time to spend with them. They showered him in love all the time. He was always being held by someone or cuddled by somebody or played with by somebody.
Trying to get out of here.
Joshua was taken from his mother and placed in foster care when her urine sample showed traces of drugs.
Oh, you're supposed to know that, are you?
The traumatic separation has been devastating for both mother and child.
I was locked in my room, I was segregated in my room for a week, 10 days actually, where I didn't even see outside with Joshua. I was told that he would probably have to go, that recommendations had been made to head office and they were waiting for a reply. Now, as I was locked in there, I couldn't get to the phone. I couldn't ask anyone to help me. I couldn't tell my lawyer. I couldn't advise anybody, nothing. And I was called in on the Wednesday morning and told that head office has been back on the line and had told them that he had to go in 24 hours. And that was it. But I didn't have a whole host of people to pick. It basically came down to 2 people, 2 families, or welfare coming in, and I did not want welfare getting hold of him because then I don't know where he is, I don't know who's got him. You have no rights as a parent when you're dealing with them, and I need to know while I'm in here that each day I'm working towards getting out to him. And with him having them, you lose that. You know you've got to get out there and you know you've got to get your life together and get a home and all that sort of stuff. but you find yourself in a catch-22 situation because, to me, and I know a lot of the women, your children are your strength, and without them, you've got nothing, and you just seem to go in this circle all the time.
What you looking at?
The women are the basis of the family structure, and if they're the ones that are caught, you know, for say, doing crime, for example, to supplement their income, well, the basic, you know, if that's the woman of the family structure, that whole family just sort of disintegrates because she's not there to keep it all together. I mean, you've got your extended family, grandparents and things like that, but that is not the same as a mother being with the kids. And, you know, Aboriginal people feel that very deeply. It hurts to not be able to be with your kids.
Just get out and start a new life over again, get my kids back. Yeah, that's all. Go and look for a job, keep off the grog, stop getting into trouble. And I don't want to end up back in this jail again.
You got kids?
Yeah, 3.
How old are they?
One's 12, 10 and 8. Yeah, I worry about them and miss them and all of this.
Who are they staying with now?
Oh, my other two child stopping with my older sister, and my oldest daughter stopping with the auntie at Port Lincoln.
Prison visits are determined by inmates' security rating. Often it's just one visit a week for 1 or 2 hours. It's difficult to sustain relationships with family and friends under these conditions.
To anyone with a family or any ties on the outside, it's not a physical jail, it's an emotional jail. There's nothing physical about being here. We're still alive, we're still healthy, we're well fed, looked after, we have all the comforts, but it's definitely emotional and psychological ties that you suffer. If someone rings up and says, you know, your child's sick and it has to go to hospital, what can you do about it? You know, there's nothing you can do about it. You're limited, you have limited access to the phone. Girls come in here and hear that, you know, the Housing Trust is taking their house away or foster care is taking their children away, and you really can't do anything about it. As hard as you try, you really can't. And eventually, I think after you've been here for a little while, you tend to cut off from that, because if you can't do anything about it, then what's the point of worrying about it? And you become really insulated in here. It's as if you're living in a cocoon. Someone else is paying your bills, someone else is feeding your children. And that must be the biggest shock when you have to go home to suddenly face up to all those problems again.
You sit here, say the week before you're going to get out, and each day you count each day down and you get panic attacks, well I do, and anxiety attacks, all these things you have to do. I mean, it's basically, you've got to build a life, you know, like bang, right, here I am, build a life. You know, it's none of this gradual stuff.
There's usually a distance between you and your family because of what you've done. You're usually looked down on by other members of the community, and if you've led a fairly steady life before you came in here, it's obviously going to be very difficult to pick that up again. If you're a man, I think you should probably have the same trouble. You can't get a job and your family is broken up. Lots of marriages break up when you come to jail. And I don't think the people or the judges stop and think that it's not just a few months you're going to spend in jail, you're going to make up for that for the rest of your life.
He's very tired. He's had enough to change and he's had a drink. See you, Bubby.
Some jails have nursery facilities for children to stay with their mothers. Careful measures are taken so that the child does not become institutionalised in the prison environment. Other jails allow women to spend the last few months of their sentence with their children in halfway houses. A chance for the severed relationships to begin again.
This place, by its very nature, it emphasises failure, that you have failed in some way, and if you fail again in here, there's very little sympathy for you. They say, well, if you can't do that for your kids, you know, you're hopeless. Whatever anyone else says, I do know they do love their children. They do want to give their kids a better life and to make up to them. Or they do want to do something for themselves, but then they fail. And I'm here once they fail, I'm here again a second time, I'm here when they fail the third time, I'm here when they fail the fourth time. And each time I see hope getting a bit less in them. The kids are disappointed in them, they're disappointed in themselves. The institution is very disappointed because they've broken the regulations or whatever. Society doesn't have time for them. And I think the whole question of addiction really needs to be looked at and dealt with. It's not just here in these women, it's in our society.
Bill in the unit, ladies.
Baby, let's get out of this town. Got a few There was one armed robbery. I drove the car that my husband used to rob a bank. There was some larceny and false pretences and that sort of stuff involved as well.
What kind of arms did you use?
Cap guns. I didn't use any guns. My husband had a cap gun, yeah. Didn't even have any caps, actually. He's only seen his father once. And at the moment, of course, I think for his well-being, I need to see him the most at the moment to reassure him, because he doesn't know his father. We'd only be introducing another strange person into his life at the moment.
Linda's husband is also in jail. Both of them are HIV positive.
Can I ask you, is Joshua HIV positive?
No, not as yet. Or, I didn't mean not as yet, but we're not sure at the moment whether he is or not. All the tests so far have gone very well and have said that basically at the moment he's negative, but until a baby is 18 months old, he doesn't start forming his own antibody. So we won't know for sure until he's probably 18 months old. I think stress is a big part with me. When I get stressed or when I get worried, I don't eat, I can't sleep, and I worry myself to death, you know. Cordial. Sometimes it worries me. Sometimes I think, shit, you know, I'll probably sit here for the next 12 months and get home D, and I'll get out there and I'll probably die in 2 weeks or something, you know, and all I want is my time with him. You know, I just want to see him grow up after that. And my other two, of course. But I mean, if I see him grow up, I see them because they're older. I just hope I'm not doing it in a hospital bed, and I don't think I will be. You know, the way I feel now, I don't think I will be. But, you know what's around the next corner, especially my corners.
November 2-5, this is November Control, over.
Can I help you, thanks?
November Control, this is November 2-7. This vehicle is clear to exit. Over.
Go 5.
Leaving prison can be more traumatic than the time that you were inside. Because there's so little done to prepare the woman for life on the outside, the shock after the institutionalizing of that woman inside is absolutely incredible.
6, 7, 8, 2, 1. That's it. At the age of 12, I was in girls' homes, in and out of girls' homes. When I turned 18, I was in and out of prison here. Altogether, I wasted 22 years of my life being locked away.
I believe that you send people to jail for smaller crimes that come out knowing a hell of a lot more when they leave. Like if they've come in for a house break or something, next time they're in for armed robbery or something like that. So usually you find that if they are recidivists, they come back for something that little bit. They learn that bit more in jail from the people that they mix with. If you put a good bird in a bad nest, they're going to come out bad usually.
There's about 65% recidivism in the women's prisons. Around Australia, it's pretty constant. And people say, well, it just shows you how you know, comfortable and good prisons are. They can't wait to get back in. But I think it's saying how difficult it is to make a go of it outside when you get out. And it is hard. I mean, it's hard for anyone today, but it's exceptionally hard for somebody who's trying to make a go of it. Like housing, where do you get it? Job, where is there one? You have to renegotiate your relationship with your children and with your partner or your lover or your friend. In here, there's very little responsibility for dealing with money, for making decisions, for all those things, and that has to all be renegotiated. So a big problem, I think, is recidivism.
Roger that. Can I help you? Yeah, can I go through, please, Alan? No problem, mate.
We have figures 34 prisoners dining room over.
Hot apple, was it?
It's ironic that in many ways the prison environment emulates the environment that these women grew up in. People who grow up in very dysfunctional families with incest, physical abuse, etc., grow up learning 3 rules. These are the rules of don't talk, which means you don't tell about those secrets. You don't tell about what daddy does to you. You don't tell about what daddy does to mom. The second rule is don't trust. And that's a 2-part rule. One is you don't trust other people. You also learn don't trust yourself. You learn you can't trust your own reality because as a child, your reality is, your sense of what is going on is one thing, but you're told either by the silence around you or directly that your reality doesn't exist. It's denied. So you learn not to trust yourself. And the last rule is don't feel. If you're a victim of incest or physical battering, you learn to turn off your feelings. You learn to disassociate. Turn it all off. It doesn't go away. The feelings are stuck deep, deep inside, which is why many victims or survivors end up turning to drugs, to do something to keep those feelings down, because those feelings are very threatening. Now, those are the 3 rules that many of these women, many other people grow up with. And in the prisons, you find the same 3 rules operating.
No, we don't. Put them on the other table. We can handle them. Can I just climb in? Yep. Right, these are ours. What are you guys eating?
Oh, I've finished eating. I've eaten.
Can you ask him for something to cut in? Otherwise, I'll just eat it off the tray the way it is. What do you want? A spatula, egg flip, and a knife, or something for a knife. Plates. Do you want some Coke?
What piece do you want?
Prison is emotionally barren, non-nurturing place that you can imagine. Quite a few of the women do turn to another woman and have a particularly close, intimate relationship with another woman to try to fill that space to some extent.
Unless you can run to a shower.
I don't think it's really any different to the outside, you know. There's heterosexual women who, you know, in some cases I've known and who have met a woman in here and continued the relationship on the outside and have had no problems, you know, just like any other normal relationship. There's homosexual women who just end up finding a partner, or they don't end up, you know, they take themselves more seriously than, say, a heterosexual person who just wants to get laid and has gets with another heterosexual and they just want to get each other off. It's more the closeness of having someone with you than actual sex itself, you know, like any relationship. I think you find that a lot more in here, more so than you do on the outside, that, you know, the friendship and having someone with you comes before other things, you know, like the actual outright sex. So some girls would get drugs in, right, and they're what you call drug relationships, and on the days they're stoned, they'll get it off together, you know, but there's no feeling in it, no anything, it's just straight out, you know, whatever they can do to get each other off. Yeah, there's a lot of that in here. And that's not pressure or standover either, that's just both of them off their faces wanting to get laid type thing, yeah.
You're listening to the Prison Show on Triple M with George, Helen and myself, Sue. And next up we've got an Angel song, Be With You.
The debate about the role of incarceration continues. Should prisoners be further punished during their sentence, or should they be provided with rehabilitation to help break the cycle of crime?
I really do believe if we had more opportunities for these people to be re-socialised and re-educated, that's the issue here. If people were re-educated, rehabilitated off drugs, things like that, if the system provided more for that sort of thing, I believe we'd have less problems.
A lot of people don't realise that a lot of the crimes that are committed, there is a reason for it. And perhaps if some of the people out there who are so easy to condemn could read some of the psychiatric reports that are done on even the younger girls in here, girls as young as 18 and 19, and realise that their behaviour does stem from violent or domestic or sexual assault problems in their younger life, that perhaps if they were counselled better or correctly, could have avoided the coming to jail.
There should be something here, but it's a lot harder to have someone that's actually involved in the jail, so like come in and say to it's not they come say to me, look, we want to work with you about your past, and you've got this psychologist sitting there and they want you to spill out your deepest, darkest secrets, then they go over and sit in the mess and have lunch with the rest of the screws. It's just like, wow, no, you know, it's just, there's no bond there, there's no trust, there's no nothing.
There's a social worker here, but he's really busy. You don't get to see him very often. Other than that, I go over and see the nurse during the day if I've had a bad night or something, go and talk to her about it. And there's a psychiatrist that comes in once a fortnight and you get to see him for about 10 minutes. Other than that, there's not. I feel they need someone here that specialises in the area, because there's a lot of girls in here being abused like it.
There's got to be some sort of a change in the direction that those places are going in, because all they're doing is creating more hardened criminals by going through that system of punishment. If there was an adequate system of rehabilitation, they would realise that, you know, this is a mistake I've made in my life. I've got to go on from there and learn from that mistake, not go out and repeat the mistake over and over again.
To me, the object is to stop, prevent, deter crime. I mean, it's in our self-interest to do that. It's in everybody's self-interest, the public's self-interest. You're not going to stop the cycle of crime unless you do some rehabilitation.
The grave reality is that crime is on the increase. And so the effectiveness of the current system of corrections must be questioned. A system where more than half the prison population will return to jail, and often for more serious crimes.
It must be hard for some of them. I can only speak for myself, but I know there's other girls who have got drug problems, and I can't see how being in here is helping them. You know, you're supposed to be getting prepared to go out to society again to contribute to it, and there's a lot of girls who will just go out and be destructive because they've got nothing to take its place. You know, and there's not even any teaching much available. It's a lot of paperwork for nothing.
Well, probably people on the outside would think it really strange saying that our only crime is getting caught, because we did commit a crime, but there's so many people outside that commit crimes that don't get caught. And I think it would be really interesting to find someone out there who hasn't got in their car when they've had a few drinks too many, or sped, or I know lots of people in business who boast about cheating the tax department and getting away with this allowance and that, and they should all realise that those are all jailable offences.
I think probably prison is the shadow of society. You see here a lot of the things about society you want to cover up.
Now, we're only here for society's sake. We're not here to be punished. We're being punished by being here, not to be punished. They're only here to make sure that we stay locked up, we don't escape, and that the actual run of the jail is running smoothly. Not to punish people any more than they do. And they do a lot. There's a lot of games. Jail's just one big game, one big mind play, and they play it real well.
If jail does nothing else, it makes you appreciate what you've got. And people take that for granted, you know, that they can walk down the shop and they can just go and see a sunset. You know? I haven't seen a sunset for a long time, or a sunrise, you know, and things like that. You know, I give my right arm for, you know.